All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we discuss the different aspects of automating ADA and WCAG testing, as well as introduce our accessibility automation product. I'm Arpit Jain, a product marketing manager here at BrowserStack. I'll be your moderator as well as a co-speaker for this session. A quick note to all the attendees. The original co-speaker for this session won't be able to join us today because of an unexpected emergency. However, we are still excited to have you all here and deliver an insightful session with Dhwani and Siddharth from the Accessibility Customer Engineering team. So, Dhwani, do you want to say hello and perhaps a few words about yourself to our attendees?
Thank you so much, Arpit. Hello, everyone. I am Dhwani Parekh. I am a part of BrowserStack's customer engineering team. Uh, Day in, day out, we work with multiple customers from different regions, looking at the different use cases and making sure that all our products work seamlessly and get integrated seamlessly in their environment. Having said that, looking forward to the entire conversation today, I will quickly hand over to Sid for his introduction as well.
Hello, folks. Nice to meet you all. My name is Siddharth, and I'm part of the customer engineering team. And I work alongside with Dhwani to deliver the best experience to our end customer. And we are very passionate about accessibility testing and excited to talk to you all about accessibility automation today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for the intro. Now, we have a very exciting session planned for all of you today. Before we go over the agenda, we would want to do a quick poll to see what parts of the world everybody has joined us from today. You will now see a poll on your screen. Okay, almost half of the attendees are from the US. Awesome. So many others from all the other parts of the world as well. Africa, Australia. Cool. All right. Thanks everyone for participating and joining us from across the globe. We sincerely appreciate your presence and the effort that you've made to be here with us. Rest assured, your time and participation will be rewarded as we delve into the session that we have planned for you. We'll now quickly go over the housekeeping items before we dive into the agenda. So today's session will run for approximately 60 minutes. And all the participants will be muted so that we can present without any interruptions. There will be a dedicated 10 minutes of Q&A at the end. So you guys can use your Zoom Q&A windows to send in your questions during the talk. The session will also be recorded and the recording will be shared with you at the end of the session. So with that, we move to our agenda. First, we'll briefly touch upon why accessibility matters and how to build accessible web products. Then we'll move on to introduce the new product that we've built for accessibility automation, the key reasons why we built it. And then we have also planned a demo for all of you before we end the session with a Q&A round. So starting with the first part of the agenda, which is why accessibility, why is it even important, right? So I think we're discussing an incredibly important topic. About 16% of the global population has some kind of a significant disability, right? So imagine the impact of a digitally accessible ecosystem in today's world when almost everybody kind of consumes information online. It's a no-brainer, right? Accessibility is about providing equal opportunities and showing respect for every individual. By embracing it, you unlock incredible potential for people with disabilities so that they could fully engage with in education, employment, as well as social interactions. Now, accordingly, organizations all over the world and across industries have also realized the importance of accessibility, and particularly to have their digital products such as websites, mobile apps accessible to everybody, right? Now, and there's a huge untapped market opportunity waiting to be catered, as well as these organizations have a chance to showcase and promote themselves as an inclusive brand, right? So now that we have understood the importance of accessibility, how do you build accessible web products, right? So as an organization building digital products, you need to do following two things. First, you need to develop applications keeping in mind the WCAG guidelines by W3C, which is the World Wide Web Consortium, also the builders of code standards like HTML and CSS. And once you have developed your applications, keeping those guidelines in mind, you need to test those applications for accessibility related issues, right? To ensure what you have built is actually adhering to those guidelines. Now, there are tons of resources available online and in utmost detail on how to code, keeping in mind the accessibility guidelines. But when it comes to testing, you need a robust tool that could work for your system, just like for any other type of software testing, right? So we observed that there was a need for an efficient accessibility automation tool, something that doesn't make it a painful activity for organization to scale accessibility of their digital products. So that was the primary reason why we started onto this journey of building user-friendly accessibility testing products. Now, with that quick overview, we now would like to discuss in detail about our newest product in the suite, accessibility automation, for which I will hand it over to Dhwani. We'll go over some of the key problems that our product is solving. Dhwani, over to you.
So before we talk about the accessibility automation tool, we want to cover the aspect of why we built an accessibility automation tool at BrowserStack. Talking about the status quo approach for automation accessibility testing in general has been tedious and time consuming. Now, for example, let's say the usual generic steps that are involved is inserting a static analyzer at every key state of your test case. So for example, any major user interaction or any page change. Now this scans the entire page and it will detect the potential accessibility issues. Now you might be running these static analyzers on two states of the same page. And the way these static analyzers run might be generating repetitive issues because there might be common elements like header, footer, your logos, your profiles, etc. Now, the next aspect comes is writing logic to deduplicate these repetitive issues that keep on coming at every state. Then you move on to the aspect of being able to, have an accessibility report for your builds and all your test cases. So this becomes a one-time effort to get your accessibility test up and running, which is a tedious effort. Then we talk about the maintenance overhead, where with evolution of your web application, this becomes a repetitive effort, which is time consuming. Apart from that, we would also want to cover the aspect of complicated reporting because it would be a custom solution which would require efforts and considerable development efforts. Having said that, we move on to the next aspect as to what have we done with our product offering. So with BrowserStack's accessibility automation, we essentially cover all three aspects that we just discussed in the previous slide. Integration being one of the basic and core aspects, we've solved this entire solutioning with the incorporation of BrowserStack's SDK, which is a one-time setup, one-time integration in the form of having one SDK YAML file, which will allow you to just add a couple of capabilities and start off with your entire accessibility automation testing. Zero maintenance overhead. When we talk about maintenance and overhead, let's say you have your functional automation test suite available. The SDK YAML file will just be an enabler to kickstart all of the aspects that we covered in the previous slide. The analyzers, the runs, covering different aspects and issues that get populated at every page and deduplicating the issues. Effortless reporting, this is something that will be covered at an extensive level when we go through the entire demo offering, where we will talk about the holistic reports that are generated once your functional automation flow is done. Sid, can we move on to the next slide? The key features that we would be covering as a part of today's demo would be the first aspect that we covered, plug and play setup. With BrowserStack's SDK, it becomes a one-step process for you to add in your accessibility capability to your existing functional test suite and start off with your accessibility testing. The second aspect is auto DOM change monitoring. Essentially, when you're running your functional builds, the accessibility scans would automatically get triggered whenever there's a DOM change that is detected. So essentially, you would not have to make repetitive changes to your existing code. Configurations and assertions would be available as a part of your capability model. So BrowserStack will provide you capabilities as a part of your accessibility capability enablement, where you'll just have to do a turn on or turn off of all the assertions that you would want to incorporate as a part of your functional flow. Auto deduplication, as we already discussed, will save you a lot of time and efforts because this is something that the tool takes care of at the go. Component tagging and grouping is something where you'll be able to see at your report level, at the test level, as well as at your build level, the different issues that have been recorded with deduplication as well. Central reporting dashboard essentially will give you access to your past and your present reports on the dashboard, and it'll just take you a few seconds to combine your multiple reports and share it with your relevant stakeholders. So moving on, talking about the support, BrowserStack as a whole has had multiple integrations available for all its products. So currently, BrowserStack supports around 40 plus integrations of different framework and languages available in the market. Having said that, on your screen, these are the top languages and frameworks in the market that we support with accessibility automation. And over a period of time, we would be covering everything that BrowserStack supports as a whole. So moving on, I'll quickly introduce Siddharth, who would be taking you through the end-to-end technical setup for today's webinar. Sid, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dhwani. Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to talk to you about accessibility automation. We'll be looking at a quick demo of the product. I'll also be talking about how can you integrate your existing test suites and have accessibility running on all of them. With that quick overview, we'll look at the demo. But before that, it would be helpful to know how everyone who's joined us today currently automates accessibility or testing. Can we have the poll, please? Awesome. Thank you so much. Hope you all have filled in your answers. Moving on to the demo now. As Dhwani covered, what were the key challenges that we identified from our market research? We are looking to address this through our solution, accessibility automation. This idea is to make automating accessibility testing as effortless as possible. There are two main components in our offering. The first is BrowserStack SDK. The BrowserStack SDK does all the heavy lifting. It is an easy to integrate SDK, wherein you have to just enable a single flag for accessibility testing. Once the flag is enabled, we take care of everything else in terms of orchestrating accessibility testing, generating reports per test case, and then consolidating all of that into a report for your entire build. Imagine all of that being done with just one single flag that you have to enable. No heavy lifting or no manual work that you have to take care of. That answers how we answer the problem of tedious integration. The second part is accessibility dashboard. Once the build report is ready, the accessibility report is sent across to the accessibility dashboard. This dashboard gives you a bird's eye view of all the accessibility issues that are part of your current websites. It has some really amazing feature that Dhwani has already covered in terms of collating multiple reports together, which I'll also be showing as part of my demo today. Moving on to the next slide. how to get started. So talking about the main point which you all would like to know about, right? The process to get started is a simple 4-step process. You have to download and install the BrowserStack SDK on frameworks such as Mocha. It is a simple npm install. You just have to enable the accessibility testing flag, that is accessibility set to true, in our SDK configuration file, and then it's done. We have a documentation covering it in detail for multiple different languages and frameworks using the SDK. You can run your automation builds like you regularly do, which take care of your functional testing. And once you have enabled the accessibility testing flag, these build would start running. Accessibility testing will happen along with your functional testing within this pre-existing test suites. Post running of this test, the accessibility reports for your test cases and overall build will be generated and will be available for the accessibility dashboard. With this, let's quickly jump onto my VS Code, and I'll show you a sample project in which I've already integrated accessibility testing using BrowserStack. Awesome. So this is my test suite repository for a set of test cases in Mocha. I've already installed the BrowserStack SDK, as you can see in my package.json file. We have a detailed documentation around how you can set this up for your language and framework of choice. As we have already shared a link in our chat box, you should be able to navigate to your framework of choice and follow the steps through of installing the SDK. Now with the SDK setup, it's just a matter of setting accessibility to true in the YML file. What is this BrowserStack YML file? This is a single source of configuration that you need to follow in order to configure everything and anything related to BrowserStack. The first step here is to pass your username and access key, which is how you are identified and authorized in BrowserStack. You also have the option of organizing your builds using multiple options such as build name and project name. I'm going to call this demo as my demo build, and the project has said accessibility automation v2. Next, you will see there is a platform key wherein I can pass different OS browser combinations. I have the option of passing multiple different ones. I can also set the browser version coverage so that I can run my accessibility automation on different versions of the browsers. Right now, I have only enabled Mojave on OS X. I can also choose to enable Windows 10 on Chrome. Then you'll see an option called Parallels Platform. This is how we take care of all sorts of parallelization for your framework. For example, let's take a quick look at my existing Dropbox end-to-end .js file. This looks like a familiar automation test suite, wherein I'm navigating to my page, performing some actions, such as scrolling, clicking on some buttons, right? And just to show you, there are no updates made to my existing test framework. So your existing functional test suite can remain as it is. In order to enable accessibility, you just have to integrate the SDK and then scroll down a little bit and enable accessibility to true. That's all you have to do. You will notice that I have not made any changes to my code here. There are no import statements, in fact, to my dropbox.e2e.js file. There is fundamentally nothing that has changed in my test suite or in my code itself. Now I will go ahead and kick off my first test that will start running my Dropbox end-to-end test suite. As you can see, the tests have started running. With this, you will see some logs coming up on my terminal right now. And I'll quickly switch to BrowserStack. Here is my functional automation tab. I'll go here and open my dashboard. You can see my demo build is started running already. That also shows my project name right here. You can see while my functional tests are running as expected on BrowserStack Automate platform, which shows the browser as I have selected them, and also the names of the different test cases. One thing to note is our current solution works on the Automate platform by BrowserStack. But as part of the long-term roadmap, we also plan to enable this capability on other infrastructures and compute options. If the test cases are still running, so we had 4 test cases and all the test cases for functionally have passed for our accessibility automation build, as you can see. Now let's look at how did this pan out for our accessibility automation. I'll quickly switch to my accessibility dashboard here and go to the accessibility test. This is where you can see all the different projects that me and my team members have been working on. I'll quickly open my SID accessibility automation v2 as I've mentioned in my configuration file. You can see that there is a build created with the same name as my automate test suite running 2 minutes ago. That has run 2 minutes ago. It also gives you a quick summary of the total number of issues that have been captured for accessibility through my test cases, along with the breakdown based on severity. Let's quickly jump into the build that we just ran. We have, first of all, you can see that we have a severity breakdown of all the issues that are found in the build. There's a historical trend of the issues over the last few builds. If I scroll down a little more, you can see that there is an accessibility health summary. This is different from the functional health of the test cases. Currently, the way this works is that a test case is marked as failed, even if a single accessibility issue is found. In the future, we will also allow customization of the thresholds when a test case can be marked as passed or failed on this platform. But right now, if any test has failed for any accessibility checks that we have in place, we will be marking them as failed. We also provide you with a historical trend of the accessibility health over the period of time. We also have a lot of views which are similar to what you may have seen in manual reports. If you have, any of you have already tried out BrowserStack's accessibility manual testing product. Wherein we have breakdown the different issues in terms of affected components, categories, and the pages that have been affected. All these charts are again interactive, meaning that if you were to click on any one of them, it will take you with a filtered view of the issues that belong to that particular category. Similarly, multiple other filters can be applied. So right now, as soon as I clicked on my category, it shows me all the 720 different issues that are belonging to this particular category of issue. We also have a test section which lists all the tests that were run. It gives information about the browsers and the platforms on which these test cases have run. If we click on any of these test cases, it opens a report for that test case individually. So that allows you to not only look at a very overview view using the overview tab, but if you want to drill down and look at how many issues were encountered in each specific test, you can do that too by simply clicking on this. Another interesting point to note is that the summation of all these issues found across these 4 test cases, right, that you're looking at in my screen right now, is greater than what we saw in the overview section. The reason for this is that we are actually deduplicating issues. If we find any common issues across the different test cases, then we deduplicate them. This deduplicated list is present under the all issues right here. Here we got a single consolidated view of the unique issues found across these 4 test cases. You can jump into any of these issues and you get details of all the issues and their affected components on the right. The issues are tagged by their WCAG guidelines in terms of the guidelines that they are violating. Right here, you can see that 1.22 stands for captions pre-recorded. We also have information on how to fix these issues. For example, if I go here, select any of the components that are violating captions WCAG guideline 1.22, I'll get a detailed view of which exact page where this issue was found, details in terms of the CSS selector, and the HTML snippet that is affecting this particular issue. Basically, the component-wide information. This really helps you to target issue. Plus, you can also look at our recommended ways on fixing this. Finally, you will get an also sources option from where exactly this issue was found, from which exact test case, so that you can identify the root cause very clearly. So with this, that is mostly from the demo perspective. Now I'll head back to my presentation again. So we have also information which can be used for creating accessibility focus assertions. I'll also quickly talk about that. In my YML file, I have the option of setting multiple accessibility options, such as the WCAG version, whether I want to include any issues, and if I want to include specific tags in testing scope for accessibility testing, I can do that as well by simply uncommenting this line. That wraps up the demo. I'd like to quickly talk about the roadmap, but before that, I'd like to hand it over to Arpit.
Thank you so much, Siddharth, for that exhaustive demo. We hope it was useful to all of you. However, in case you have any questions, please feel free to submit them using your Zoom chat, and we'll take that up towards the end. Now, before we go over our product roadmap, we would like to know whether you wish to explore our accessibility automation product for your team. You will now see a poll on your screen. Please use that to mark your interest. If that's a yes, we'll send detailed information about the product, its capabilities, and instructions to get started right away. And even if it's a no, please don't hesitate to vote. We'll take that feedback with us and work on that accordingly. All right, so while that happens, Siddharth, shall we go over the product roadmap?
Sure, Arpit, that's a great idea. So similar to our cross-browser testing products that some of you may be already familiar with, we are launching our products for accessibility testing in terms of a 2x2 grid that is available on your screen right now. The two key dimensions of this grid are, first, a testing platform. We would like to support the testing of web apps and native mobile applications. The second dimension is testing method. For these two platforms, we would like to enable users to conduct manual testing on their own and automated testing, which embeds into the regression build. Here are the names of the four upcoming products. First is accessibility testing, which is already generally available. Then we have accessibility automation for accessibility automation, which will be available, which is currently in beta and will be in GA by April. And we also have app accessibility testing in beta right now, and then we'll be moving it to GA very soon. And we are also planning to launch app accessibility automation very soon in the alpha stages. Let me quickly talk about the quarter-wise roadmap also for the accessibility automation product. So here you can see the roadmap for October Q3, which is FY23, and Q4 23. So here you can see the different frameworks that we have added in the recent launches and whatever roadmap looks like for the upcoming quarter. So we'll very soon be adding JUnit 4, JUnit 5, WDIO, and Test Cafe. Plus, you will see an option of build comparisons to compare the different builds, see what are the main differences that were identified in the subsequent builds. There will also be an option to look at publicly accessible reports so that you can share your reports with your teammates who are not part of the BrowserStack platform. All right, quickly jumping on to the, handing it over to Arpit now.
Thanks, Sid. We now move to the last segment of our webinar, the Q&A. We'll try to take as many questions as possible. So, Dhwani, a question for you. How do how to drill down on exactly what failed in the accessibility tests?
Mm, So essentially, once your reports are created, you go to the dashboard, you have reports available build wise and test case wise. There's a section where you can actually see the kinds of issues based on issue type or based on WCAG guidelines. So essentially, it gives the entire reporting structure gives you an option to drill down the kind of issues and the number of times the issue arised or occurred based on different parameters. So you can have your own categories. If your focus is completely based on the WCAG guidelines and the different components around it, I think that is the way you can go ahead with it. Or else you also have a section called issue type where you can actually drill down on the number of issues that occurred during a certain build.
Great. Thanks, Dhwani, for sharing that information. Siddharth, next question is for you. Do the reports also include a screenshot of the issue?
Oh, that's a great question. Currently, not right now, but this is part of our roadmap. We'll definitely keep you posted when this becomes available through our launches channel.
Got it. Sure. Thanks, Siddharth. Dhwani, next question for you. If multiple tests were to access the same pages, would accessibility know they are the same page? Or would we end up with duplicate issues for each time it accessed that page?
That's a great question. Like initially, when we started off with this entire webinar, we were talking about the generic processes that are being followed in the market. The biggest challenge that we have overcome with this product offering is deduplication of issues. Now, this is tackled through deduplication of issues, which have a similar issue signature across all test cases and pages. So it will ensure you only have a unique set of issues. And that's the reason you will be able to, look at the report in a holistic way as well.
Got it. Thanks, Dhwani, for that. The next question is about whether we are supporting JUnit as a framework or not. I'll take that up. This is a part of our roadmap, and it's due for delivery by the first quarter of the next financial year. So it will be very soon supported. Next question is for Dhwani. Can we use this accessibility automation test suite without any automation framework integration?
I think this is also a great question. I would again like to go back to the challenges that we were talking about. Setup becomes a bigger problem, and we understand that the QA teams already have so much to do with their existing functional and unit coverage in terms of automation testing. So what we decided as an approach was to do the SDK based approach where we can eliminate the entire pain point of integration that customers would typically face, the kind of alterations required for your automation script or having to build or inject analyzers again and again to your existing script. So in order to just overcome and just eliminate this entire process, what we've done is we've gotten in the SDK approach where you just need a configuration file that Sid had showcased as a part of the demo offering, where you just say accessibility is equal to true and it's enabled. You can keep on changing your WCAG guidelines. You can have multiple SDK configurable files as a part of your pipeline that can cover different areas of WCAG guidelines as well. So there's a lot of configuration and customization just at a capability level that BrowserStack SDK offers. And this essentially saves a lot of time and effort.
Yep. Thanks, Dhwani. The next question we have for Sid. So it's another framework related question. So do we also support Selenium with MS Test, which is currently not on the list?
This is due for delivery in this quarter itself. So by March end, you should be seeing this available on our platforms. Please be on the lookout for it, and we'll also make sure to make an announcement for the same. So it's coming out very, very soon.
Sure. Thanks, Sid, for that. The next question we have for Dhwani for you. Will the reports, the accessibility reports on the dashboard will also show the priority of defects based on the accessibility standards?
Keeping the WCAG guidelines into consideration, the reports will show the criticality of the issues from the perspective of impediments it would pose to impaired users. So it's absolutely based on the guidelines and the criticality and severity that come with the guidelines.
Great. Thank you so much, guys, for answering those questions in detail. So with that, we conclude our Q&A round. Hope your questions were answered, but regardless, please feel free to reach out to Sid, Dhwani, or myself, or fill up the query form on BrowserStack website with any other questions that you might have, and we'll be happy to assist.